Hi, it's Rick Jones, and welcome to round 2 of Cooking with the Captain. You know, normally this time of year I'd be on the road with Rick, telling you all those great places to eat out and about. But we're home with the pandemic, and during this time we've been doing a lot of cooking. In our first episode, we cooked one of Ryan's favorites, chicken parmigiana. But today, here in Wadmalaw Island, we're going to cook low country food. We've got our special friend Jenny White with us today, and we've planned a very special menu. We're going to start with crab salad with crab right off the dock, followed by skillet, okra, zucchini, and tomatoes, and then our main will be shrimp and grits. We'll close with a wonderful pound cake that Jenny's brought for our dessert. I always like to tell you what I'm listening to when I'm cooking. I always try to find music that reflects the cuisine that I'm preparing. So what am I listening to today in preparing low country food? Well, we started with the great American opera that was written right here in the low country, Porgy and Bess. You know, George Gershwin came to Charleston and lived at Folly Beach, South Carolina, and listened to the Gullah people and attended Gullah churches and got the great dialect down, and then wrote one of the great masterpieces of all time, Porgy and Bess. And then I listened to what I think is the greatest version of I Loves You, Porgy, and it's the version by Nina Simone. And so we listened to Nina Simone's greatest hits. And actually on that CD are two really important songs that reflect the summer that we've had, the summer of Black Lives Matter. She does an amazing cover of Billie Holiday's classic, saddened ballad, Strange Fruit, about lynchings in the South, and then does a marvelous live version of Mississippi Goddamn. It's quite a masterpiece. And then we closed by listening to a little Etta James. You may know Etta was the first performer in the historic New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. She recorded under Chess Records out of Chicago. And there's a wonderful movie about Chess Records called Cadillac Records. And in that movie, Beyonce Knowles plays Etta James. You also know that if I'm going to cook, I got to do some drinking. And today, while I cook, we're drinking a wonderful Scott Kelly Pinot Gris from Oregon. And then for our dinner, we're going to have a wonderful California Cambria Estate Winery from Catherine's Vineyard in Santa Barbara, California, a Chardonnay. So, bon appetit, and let's get started. As I said, we're cooking shrimp and grits today. We have these amazing white shrimp here from Wadmalaw, fresh off the dock. And of course, if you're going to cook shrimp and grits, you've got to make stock for the grits. And so we're peeling the shrimp in order to prepare the shrimp and grits and use the shells for our stock. And as you see, I have already prepared some shrimp and some shrimp shells in order to make the stock. Now I'm going to need 6 cups of stock today, and I want 2 of those cups to be shrimp stock. And so I'm going to put 2 cups in, but you also realize that you're going to have some of it evaporate. So I'm actually going to put about 3.5 cups of shrimp stock. And we will take the shrimp stock and we'll head to the stove. Now there are lots of ways to make shrimp stock. When I make a very rich dish, I'll often saute them in butter before I make the stock. But in this case, I want a very pure stock because I don't want to mess up with the taste of the grits. So we've just got nothing in there but shrimp shells. We're going to cut it on high, put the top on, bring it up to a boil, and then when it starts to boil, we're going to cut it down and simmer it for about 15 minutes. While we're making the shrimp stock, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our crab salad. This is absolutely Charlotte's favorite dish ever. We catch the crabs right off of our dock. Here's kind of the rule of thumb of crab salad. We put a little chopped celery, a little chopped cucumber, a little chopped onion, would prefer it to be Vidalia onion, a little bit of Tony Chachere's Creole powder, and mayonnaise. Now, what's the rule of thumb? You want it to be 80% crab and 20% everything else in order to make great crab salad. We're also going to make today okra and tomatoes in the skillet. We went out to the garden today, picked fresh okra. This is a yellow okra, very, very mild flavor, wonderful texture, along with some zucchini that we picked, and of course, cherry tomatoes that we got, believe it or not, from my favorite place at Costco. One of the things I love about Costco is they have these blended flavored tomatoes that you literally can get year round. You know, we're in September now in Charleston and all our tomatoes are gone. Everything's burned up. We peak tomato season here about the second week of July. We're now in September, so I've got to go to the store to get great cherry tomatoes. See, we brought it up to a boil now. We're going to let it simmer for a little longer, but you'll see that this is making wonderful stock that we'll use to cook our grits. So we'll cut it down to low, and we'll let it go about 10 more minutes. Let's start now making our okra, zucchini, and tomato skillet. First thing we want to do is we want to take this iron skillet and begin to get it really, really, really hot. Once we've done that, we want to put just a little bit of olive oil here to coat the bottom. So we're going to cover the bottom of the skillet and get it nice and hot. All right, so we're going to add the okra first. We don't want the okra to burn, but we want to begin to cook the okra. As you can see, we put a little of that Tony Chachere's Creole powder on it. We wear that stuff out here. I'm going to cover the skillet so it'll steam the zucchini and the squash a little bit. Emeril Lagasse used to talk about it on Emeril Live about smell-o-vision. Too bad we don't have a smell-o-vision that you can smell this, but this zucchini and okra is really beginning to smell good. Then we're going to add our tomatoes. Just a little pepper. A little salt. Stir it up really good. And voila, skillet, okra in the middle. Now let's talk a little bit about shrimp and grits. There's a million ways to cook shrimp and grits. In fact, there's several cookbooks. Natalie Dupree has a great cookbook on shrimp and grits that has about 60 different shrimp and grits recipes. I seldom make mine the same way. You usually make it with what you have in your refrigerator. But here's what I know about stock. We're making a dinner shrimp and grits today, so I'm going to use savory stock. I'm going to use shrimp stock and chicken stock. When I make morning grits, I use things like milk or cream. You can also put cheese in your grits. But here's the rule of thumb. For every cup of grits, you have 4 cups of liquid, whether that's a combination of stock and cream or water or whatever. Today, I'm using 1.5 cups of grits. And so I'm going to need 6 cups of stock for that. Now, I'm not a big instant grit guy. I just as soon eat a cardboard box than eat fast grits. These are grits, stone ground grits from Palmetto Farms in the PD region of South Carolina. These take a little longer to cook, but they're really, really good. And I use yellow grits at night and use white grits in the morning. Yellow grits have a little different flavor with the chicken stock. So let's talk about our stock. Again, we're going to need 6 cups of stock. Now we're going to turn it up and start boiling our stock. So while our shrimp and chicken stock starts to boil, it gives me a reason to drink a little bit more wine. Again, I can't imagine anybody that would cook without a good wine. And as I told you last time, not to cook with, but to drink. All right, now it's time to start making our toppings for our shrimp and grits. First thing we're going to do is add a little bit of bacon. Fry up some bacon. The bacon grease is going to form the base for which we're going to saute our shrimp and our vegetables to make our shrimp and grits. We're also going to take the crispy bacon and use it again as a topping on the finished product. By now our stock is beginning to boil. Now let me tell you, you can mess up grits by not paying attention to grits. But if you follow the directions the right way, then you're able to get perfect grits every time. So while our bacon's frying, our stock is beginning to boil. Now I'm going to add the grits. And as I add the grits, I'm going to stir. We're going to bring this up to a boil. For about a minute, constantly stirring to make sure we don't have any chunks in the bottom. Continuing to cook my bacon as we're cooking our grits. I want to get our bacon good and crispy. And leave a good base for when we saute our vegetables. Alright, now that it's come back up to a boil, I'm going to cut the grits down to low. I'm going to put the top on. Going to leave them for a while. Now, I like to use the best butter on the planet, which is Irish Kerrygold pure Irish butter. It's just the best. The next thing is I chopped a red pepper, and I'm going to add the chopped red pepper into the mix. Now, you can use any kind of pepper you want. Some people like a little kick and do habaneros or other kinds of pepper, jalapenos. I like to use red peppers because I think they have a really succinct flavor. Sweetness of the pepper brings out the sweetness of the shrimp. So we're going to let that fry in here for a little. Next thing I'm going to add are some gourmet mushrooms. Baby bellas, shiitakes, and oyster mushrooms. We're going to add those to the skillet. We're going to start cooking these. And the bacon, grease, and butter in the skillet. Next, I'm going to add a little garlic. Remember last time I told you about this wonderful garlic press that we have? And all I need to do here is squeeze it, and out comes the garlic. We're ready to add the shrimp. I've taken the shrimp, and I'm going to put a little bit more of the Tony Chachere's on it. Give it a little kick. Stir that up a little bit in here. And then pour the shrimp into the skillet. Again, you can cook some shrimp and grits so many different ways. You can add tomatoes, you can add bell peppers, some people put celery. We've broken up the bacon. A lot of people use tasso ham or country ham or even fried prosciutto, different things. But in this case, we've got some really good apple smoked bacon that we will use as our topping. So we'll spoon up a little bit of the grits. And then we're going to put a little of the mushrooms, peppers, and shrimp on the grits. And then a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I like to put some smoked Gouda, just a hair of that. Some of that crispy bacon that we had before. And some green onions. And then I'm going to top mine off with a little bit of Tabasco. And there you have it. Low Country Lantana shrimp and grits. Salute!